These things in your holy and precious name we ask. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Item 3, recognition of guests and special presentations. Well, we have Judge Moran with us today, and we're glad to have him here. I think it's about the only other special guest, unless there's some I don't know. I know we have the people from Squires and Johnson here to give us an update on the audit. So at this time, I would ask that Judge Moran and Mr. Edwards come forward where he can be administered the oath of office, and since he was chosen to be the fill-in for Commissioner Bigger's unexpired term.
Mr. Chairman, is there any particular place you'd like for us to stand?
Whatever, probably
Probably out here? Okay,
Yeah.
come on up here. All right, Mr. Edwards, if you'll stand right across from me and raise your right hand and repeat after me these words. I, Bradley Edwards,
I, Bradley Edwards,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the position
the duty of the position
of Smith County Emergency Services District Number 2 Commissioner for Precinct 3,
of Smith County Emergency Service District, Precinct 3,
and will to the best of my abilities
and to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
All right.
I'm going to get him to sign his oath of office. He's already signed his statement of an officer, and then he'll be good to go. All right, thank you. Thank you for the privilege of allowing me to do that for you. Thank you for doing it right there. You bet.
Have a seat. Judge.
You guys have a great seal.
All right. Item number 4 is public comment. I have one person signed up to speak, David Gerald, and David, you'll have 3 minutes.
Evening, Commissioners, public, guests. Basically, the reason for me coming up here tonight is just to ask the Commissioners to really consider in some of tonight's decisions the men, the volunteers, everybody that does the job in the field for you. Main thing on the PPE and the wildland side of it, we are now in situations, granted we did get rain today, that's going to suffice for probably a week or 2 maybe. I think really the only thing that would ever help it would be a hurricane, God forbid, but with the drought in the season, we're looking at going way into November, December with some major potentials for wildfires, and having the right PPE for everybody across the board is paramount to making sure the safety. We had definite knowledge of people getting burned out towards the West Texas area, and if they didn't have their PPE on, it would have been a bad situation for that department out there. The other thing I asked tonight is just all in all, through the PPE and through the insurance side of it, y'all think about the men, think about the guys that are out there laying it on the line for the citizens, and let's all try and work together and get to the right place. All right, we thank y'all.
Thank you. Item number 5, fiscal year 2021 audit documents, discuss, consider taking into 2021. And related to the presentation, the annual ESD2 audit.
Aaron was the manager in charge of this job, and he worked with a couple of different accounts trying to finish this job up. So we've had this ready for a little while, but we had new accounts. I want to have a chance to take a look at this, and so they've made a couple of recommendations for changing the footnotes. But since Aaron did most of the work, he's going to go over the financial statements with him over on the front page, and that should help you kind of follow along as he goes.
So in the very back are 2 loose letters, letterhead on it, so it kind of looks like this. But on page 1, the second paragraph from the top, it has our opinion on the financial report. So it basically says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. So it's kind of funny accounting language, but that is the best opinion that anyone can receive. That is the language that you guys are looking for. So that is the best opinion that the ESD can receive. So we're not going to turn there, but I'm just going to mention that on pages 4 through 9, that is going to be the management's discussion analysis. So this portion actually belongs to the ESD. We go through and we make sure all the numbers and amounts are updated and correct. But if you want to see any comparisons related to the previous audited year, it's going to be in this section. So on page 11, so page 11, this is the statement of net position. So this is kind of like a balance sheet, and so the governmental audits or financial reports are a little bit different from most other people. You have 2 different sets of financial statements. So you have like one set that it does not include any long-term items that's longer than a year. So this particular statement on page 11, this is kind of like the big balance sheet. It includes everything, includes all the long-term items. So it's the most relevant one to you guys. So it includes all the capital assets, it includes all the long-term debt on it. So the total net assets, is about 26.9 million. And then you got some deferred outflows relating to pension amounts, and that is about 300,000. And then the total liabilities is about 5.9 million. So that gives an overall net position for the ESD, the very bottom number there, of about 21.2 million. So the next page over, this is statement of activities, and this is kind of like the income statement. It just looks different. So the very first column there, it lists the expenses. And so you guys have a total expenses of 10.3 million. And then going across, you have some revenue amounts for charges for services and operating grants and some capital grants. And that capital grants right there, that amount is grants that the volunteer fire departments received for new fire engines that they contributed to the ESD to pay for them. And then underneath of that is the general revenue. So some of those numbers, you got the ad valorem taxes, and that's the property taxes. So that is about 5.1 million. And then you got the sales tax amount, and that is about 11.5 million. And then the total general revenue there is about 17.2 million. So on page 14, we won't go over it, but this is the other balance sheet that does not include items that's longer than a year. So it's not going to include any of the capital assets, it's not going to include any of the long-term debt. And then on page 16, this is the other, kind of like the other income statement. And so this is going to be very similar in the numbers to the first kind income statement that went over on page 12. The numbers differ a little bit, but it has to do with those long-term items. So if you want to turn to page 28, So I'm just going to mention a couple of footnotes, some of the big ones in here. So on page 28, footnote 3, this is the capital assets. So this kind of shows you some of the change in activity throughout the year. So that first column, it shows the beginning balance, and then it shows the increases in disposals and transfers. And the transfers is just some assets that were partly completed in a previous audited year that were not completed yet. So they're construction in progress, and then they were completed in this year, and so they just got transferred over to buildings and vehicles. So then you come down to the ending balance, and the ending balance there is about 12.1 million capital assets. So if you want to turn to page 30, so page 30, note 6, this is the long-term liabilities. So the table there in the middle of that page is pretty much, it kind of shows us the change in activity like the other one does. It has the beginning balance, the additions, the reductions. Then it has the ending balance, and then it shows how much is due within 1 year. So to kind of break things out a little bit more, on the second page, or the next page over, page 31, there's two tables right there, and those two tables kind of shows a timeline of the debt payments. So that first table only has to do with the notes, the debt. And then that second table, it only has to do with the capital lease you guys have. And the capital lease refers to the Motorola radios you guys purchased. So overall, we believe that ESD has a good set of financials. And we want to thank you guys for allowing us to come out and present the financial audit. And if you have any questions on anything, you can ask them now, or you can ask us anytime and we can answer them for you guys.
Thank you.
You guys, we need to go ahead and vote on approval or not approval of the financial audit.
You guys have heard the presentation of the audit. It looks like we're in good financial shape. And no problems that I can think of outside of a couple of deficiencies, and it wasn't as far as monetarily goes. So at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the audit.
Make a motion to approve the audit as presented.
I have a motion by Commissioner McKeithen to approve the audit as presented by Squires and Company. I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? If not, at this time, instead of just saying aye, I will take a roll call vote. Commissioner Wilson? Yes. Commissioner McKeithen? Aye. Commissioner Aye. Aye. And I vote aye also, so 4 and Commissioner Donnie's, so motion passes. All right. Item 6. Discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the following equipment purchases. Discuss, consider, and take any action on purchase of wildland PPE and safety equipment for firefighters with the increase of both intensity and volume. Wildland fires in the county as well, productive outlook. Anyway, they want us to each full PPE set costs $1,320. The estimated cost is somewhere around $231,000 for 175 complete sets. And this project will result in a budget overrun of that amount. So who's going to speak on that?
Mr. President, I'd like to start off by saying the last board meeting, the board heard this topic, requested some additional information. The staff has gone back and is going to provide that additional information that you requested. The numbers are more precise. And one of the questions, because this is, we're asking to consider this not in the current budget, that it's expense of funds that are not currently budgeted due to the fire season that we're faced with. one of the primary questions that came up for us was availability, because if the material is not available for a projected period of time, then it's not going to meet the need of a urgent need. So they've done some homework in that nature, and they'll share that information with you. We just got a quote from one vendor towards that end. I brought hard copies that you can take a look at. I'll let staff go ahead from here.
Okay, so we were approached about this project and started doing some research on it, and we got it pretty quick. So the initial numbers that y'all received at the last board meeting were all based on retail price, no discounts involved, any of that kind of stuff. It's just what we would pay off the shelf. Since then, we've managed to get some quotes in, and my recommendation, as well Chief Clinton's recommendation, and Director McDonoghue's recommendation after we looked at everything, was this one from Ben's Truck Repair out of California. Ben's is the only company that we've found out of everybody that we've looked at that is able to supply all the products that we need from one location that actually has the stuff in stock. When we talked to him yesterday after he sent us the quote, he told us that we were looking at about a 2 to 3 week turnaround on this stuff. Some of the other companies that we've used in the past also sell this stuff, but there was only 2 that actually had everything, and of those 2, neither one of them had everything in stock at the moment. So the only thing that he did not have the complete amount in stock of was fire shelters. He had 44 of those, but that is better than anybody else that we've looked at. Nobody else has anything in stock, period.
And
So,
you'd be able to procure some more fairly quickly.
yeah, we would be able to. Most places are saying end of August to possibly the first part of December before they get anything else in. That includes the pants and shirts, the fire shelters, the backpacks, anything. So,
And his quote was competitive with the others as well. So not only is he available, but it's also.
what's that?
What was delivery on?
He said 2 to 4 weeks. He said actually lean closer to the 2 week period. So this company has been around for several years. He said they've been involved in the firefighting side for at least 50 years. They do contract firefighting in California and western states. They supply the big water tenders, bulldozers, Type 6 engines, everything. So they're very well versed in the wildland firefighting community. They're actually pretty well known in California for what they do. So they got into the business of selling the equipment as well as operating it themselves. So it's not just some fly-by-night company that's out there. They're an established company that's been around for a while.
Additionally, as it relates to budget conversation, I spoke with Eric. We do have funds set aside in contingency of $500,000 for wildland-specific emergency purchases. That money was set aside as a result of 2011 and some of the things we had occurring during that time. We are not saying that this is a 2011 event, however.
Forest Service is.
Well, Forest Service has some particular areas they are. But we have quite a bit of information that we've obtained through various reputable forestry outlooks that say we will be dealing with this through November. I spoke on this last time that a lot of what our folks have are over garments. In other words, they're using a dual certified gear like Tech Gen or some of those, which is intended to put on over their clothing. That does not help us with the heat-related issues that we've been seeing. What we're advocating here is something that we do not have and have not had for the majority of the crews, and that is proper wildland gear that would be breathable and provide the level of protection that the guys and gals need. In addition to that, the first time ever in this district, they would all have shelters. They would have line packs. They would have the ability to put in the camels with drinking water and things like that on these line packs for extended operations. Our belief is with our reduced manpower situation that it would add to their overall work period, allowing them to work longer before they were completely tired. A lot of different benefits, but foremost safety. So that's really what I have.
So looking at this quote, it only quotes 59 of this, 58 of that. Thought it's going to be 175 altogether.
So some of this, okay, so that part you're looking at, those are different size pants. So those are just different size pants that he's got quoted.
It says
Different numbers of.
so.
Yeah, but you'll add them, see these are 32, 36,
Okay,
38.
all right, that's it.
Yeah, and then some of the numbers you'll see different. they're just based on some stuff that we've already bought in the past that we do have already.
So the total price minus their sales tax, which we shouldn't have to pay, right?
Yes, sir. It'll be $125,396.
$396.
Yes, sir. And this does not include freight because of all the quotes that we've gotten. Nobody can guarantee freight over 5 days. Most of them will not even quote you freight until the order is shipped, because the freight side of things is that volatile right now.
We do have money in contingency where.
If you look on page 39 of the audit report, this first bullet point there that explains about the emergency fund, you will see that it says specifically wild land gear purchases. And this is the money that has been committed for these kind of emergencies in prior years. So it wouldn't hit the budgets. It would simply come from the reserves to fill in this hole.
Okay. Did we do the research on, do we have 175 active personnel in this district?
Okay, so that encompasses our career folks as well as our
Active
volunteer.
personnel.
And what we did is we got with Larry and we basically figured in everybody that had a greater than 10% activity.
Okay.
So can that be a number that represents some people that may not make everything? Possibly, but one of the things we wanted to bring into account here is that as we continue to increase in activity, you know as well as I, the number of people that are going to come back to active. You know what I mean? I mean, they're meeting the minimums, but they're going to become much more active with the active fire situation that we'll be encountering, we believe. So I would say, yes. Now, I do want to be sure that we point out that we reduced the overall number of shirts by some of that we purchased agenda before or something. I think we 90 or 100 shirts we purchased, and
We purchased 100 shirts prior to, so that number actually is not reflected on here, so that number actually will be less.
What about the fire shelters?
We don't have any.
They don't have enough of them?
No, sir.
So we'd have to come back and buy some more later?
Yeah, we'd have to come back and buy some more later.
Yeah. If needed?
Yeah.
What season needs for?
Yeah, and like I say, that's one of those items that right now is a very hot item due to the wildland climate that's out there now. Nobody can get their hands on them. When they do, they fly off the shelves.
Right, okay.
Are we able to make it, Mr. Coker, are we able to make a decision based on one quote?
No.
There should be several quotes. This is our recommendation.
Where would the other quotes be?
They should have been with the last meeting.
Did we look? I can go back.
Pull them up.
This is just the one we want to go with.
Yes.
Is that your recommendation?
Due to availability, and it's a better quote than the other quotes as far as price.
So it's $125,396,
Plus
not
shipping.
counting the freight, so,
Plus shipping.
right?
He did give me some kind of estimated cost on shipping. He said the stuff coming from him, he would try his best to do free shipping on, but he couldn't guarantee it. The stuff coming from one of the other vendors that he uses would be drop shipped to us from them, and he said you're looking at probably $400 to $600 shipping on that. So, but he didn't know for sure.
So not to exceed. Well, guys, the biggest thing that I want to say is I'm glad that we have the contingency fund, and that is why we set those things aside for things like this. But we have got to be more forward thinking. Because if we didn't have that, we're being asked for a lot of, I'm looking at you, but this is not directed at you. We're being asked for a lot of things, and a $231,000 expenditure is huge.
Well, like we said, that was just based on retail pricing and what we would get off the shelf.
And
we knew it was going to be less than that. We just had to find it.
Okay, $125,000 is a huge overage on our budget, and we are at the tail end of summer. We have gear, and I don't want people to think that we don't have gear. Maybe not the top of the line. There's some people that not. And for those, I'm very much for purchasing gear for those individuals. But to outfit an entire organization like that on a non-budgeted item at the tail end of summer, in Texas, where we expect a summer like this every year, this is not the way to get things, in my opinion. With that said, we have a contingency. I'd like to see us budget to replace these funds in our contingency next year for this purpose, because next time we're going to be buying a bulldozer or something else that goes down. You know what I'm trying to say?
When do you mention that?
Yeah.
I'm just glad we did.
But I'll get off my soapbox. With that, I'll make a motion to purchase the gear based off of the quote that's in front of us, because we've already viewed the others, not to exceed 128. So I'm gonna give us a little bit of wiggle room for the purchase. I'm not even gonna read all this off of what on the quote in front of us, out of the contingency fund that we have set aside.
Okay, have a motion by Commissioner McKeithen to spend up to $128,000 to be taken out of the contingency fund to buy the wildland PPE that has been requested. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Item 6.2, LMTV tires, discuss and consider taking the next action to purchase spare military tires for our military truck fleet, and staff recommends the purchase of 14 tires at a cost of $250 each, total expenditure of $3,500. Who's going to speak on that?
This was also an item at a prior board meeting that the board asked for more information, and staff has gone and done that.
Who has the information?
Where's that quote at?
It was on the, I think it was on the previous.
Yeah, it's on the
I just
previous
left that, but
Yeah, we have a new quote from them for 14 tires at $3,500.
and the reason that this didn't have 3 quotes is because these are not just like a readily available.
Right. So there's a quote from,
They're a specialty tire.
that was like $825 per. That's from,
Straight from Goodyear.
straight from Goodyear.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
And then we found these which are surplus, but they're new for $250. That is.
Michael, we got a place to store those tires somewhere where they won't be in direct sunlight, so there won't be any dry rot in them.
Yeah, I was gonna plan on trying to store them up at West Spring Station 1 until we can have a facility somewhere close to shop floor.
Put them in racks, keep them up off the floor and everything.
Yeah, just soak it all up, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to buy the 14 tires that cost $250 each for a total expenditure of $3,500. Have a motion by Commissioner Wilson to buy the 14 tires at a cost of $250 each for a total expenditure of $3,500. Do I have a second?
I'll say,
Have a second by Commissioner McKeithen. Any other discussion, question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 7, discuss, consider, and taking necessary action related to the acquisition of the Jamestown property. I'll turn that over to you, Sam.
all right, so we have gone back and forth with Mr. Hinckley, the seller, on the property on the northwest portion of the county. We've finally reached an agreement. We have signed by the seller contract on both. We did this in a 2 and a 1 acre, so there's 2 contracts for the total of 3. This has been looked over by council. The changes were made that he requested. Mr. Hinckley agreed, so truthfully. I assume we need to vote on the expenditure to buy the property of $60,000. And
You probably need to sign that.
I'll have you sign, but yes, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Just because I was.
I'll make the motion that, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make the motion that we purchase the property from Mr. Hinckley for $60,000 and do paperwork.
A motion by Commissioner Wilson that we acquire the property in Jamestown, the 1 acre tract and the 2 acre tract at a cost of $60,000. Have a second?
A second.
Have a second by Mr. Edwards. Any other discussion? Only thing I need to say is I think we have about that amount of money, or that amount of money left over in the construction fund, and I would suggest those funds be taken out of that construction account.
I'm okay with that as long as it's excess.
Okay. All right. No other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay. Hey, Mike, it's all right for me just go ahead and sign that, or do they need to authorize me to sign the papers, or what?
You can go ahead and sign.
Okay. We'll make sure we've covered all of those bases. Item 8, discuss and consider taking any necessary action on the proposal from Troop Volunteer Fire Department, Chief Mauger for ESD2 provide necessary matching funds towards the Texas A&M Forest Service grant for the purchase of a brush truck. Chief?
We got the grant for this brush truck, and we got the 3 bids. Everything was in order. I gave all the necessary paperwork that everybody was interested in, and the total of the truck purchase, and there's $8,000 of radio equipment and that's what Larry told me that they have here. So actually the $21,000 matching that we're asking for on this truck is actually going to be about $13,402.98. That will be the actual money that DSD will be out. There's a grant for $128,000 with the CAVS unit, which is what I got on this order. And I did jump the gun and sign the papers, and I am guilty of that. I'll fess up to that right out here in the open.
So we have the radio equipment, Larry? I'll have to order. You have to order. So it's also my understanding too that if you didn't order the truck when you did, if we would have waited, it would have cost about another.
They would jump the price up. Now how much, I'm not real sure on that, but that's what I was trying to do, is keep the money down as low as possible. The one bid was $196,000, I think, and one was $170,000, and the one that we decided we wanted was $141,402. And that's with the $128,000 grant from the Forestry Service.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Go for it.
You're a fair man, and I know you are. You know what we have done in the past for other departments. We knew what the rules were on this. What would you do if you were sitting here?
Well, I don't know.
The biggest thing that,
I was looking out for everything all the way around.
I have no doubt.
I wasn't trying to beat anybody up or trying to do anything out of the line.
I don't think you have a malicious intent, Chief. I don't want you to think that that's what I think, but I just, you know, we just spent $128,000 on the, you know, unbudgeted item, which I think we were expecting this one. But, you know, we're trying to run this place smoothly and accurately and as a whole unit. I don't know if I'm explaining this the best way, but it's what my mind's put together. And I'm conflicted because, I mean, for such a small cost, we're gonna get a new truck. And that's a good expense, but I also don't wanna set a precedent of.
No, I already admitted I messed
No,
up.
I know you did, and I appreciate that.
And I did it publicly.
I know, and I do. I just, it puts us between a rock and a hard place, and I don't like it. I don't like a rock and a hard place. I'd like to hear from other commissioners on this, but,
Well, I look back because there was some discussion one time that was brought before the board. In the October board meeting, he did tell us, and along with Chief York, that they did get grants. And he said he was doing this and that. And I didn't listen to the whole deal, but just found it where he did come to the board and say he had the grant and everything like that. And I think we told him to get the prices and the bids and come back and give us a turnkey price, okay? So, or what our portion would be. So that's what he did the last meeting, but probably should have came back before then. And we've had that discussion that he should have came back and told us, hey, your portion is gonna be this amount of money. Now, like I said, we'd all be foolish to turn down a truck for that amount of money. And in the meantime, I've had discussions with our executive director, and I've asked him to draft a policy to give out to everybody concerning grants, that if you're gonna get a grant, we ask these guys to file for these grants. This grant that he got was filed in 2014, and it came up.
Yeah.
So, if we turn it down or we send it back, it may be another 8 or 10 years before we get it. So, the bid process was done right. He got 3 competitive bids, which we always do, in which it was over $50,000, so he did that, okay? And I'm not defending anybody, you know? He knows he did wrong, we did wrong, but I would think it would be crazy for us not to go ahead and fund this request and get a new truck. It has to be in service for 10 years anyway, so that's my thoughts on it. You know, it's one thing if somebody just goes out and buys something and comes in here and expects us to pay for it, versus somebody gets a grant like we asked them to do. And yeah, maybe they didn't follow all the rules, but yeah, we can still get a brand new truck for $20,000. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I get there's something shiny on the other end, but we have to follow, and maybe we didn't have a policy.
And we don't have a set policy, but yeah, I agree with you. We've told everybody, but now, so we don't run up on this in the future, we will have a policy that if you get a grant, this is the steps you gotta follow. And that way.
My question is, what if they don't? Do we deny it on the next one? Are we going to deny it on the next one when there's a big grant?
That's a good question.
Because today is no different than the future or the past of the way we've been operating on this. And I just, that is my hang up, is we did this to Bullard. Are we going to stand fast? And Bullard stepped up and they funded what they committed to.
The boat.
That's right. They committed us to funds that we didn't.
Can I ask you one question without making you mad? Did they go out and get a grant for the boat?
No, but that doesn't.
They want us to pay 100%.
Correct.
And we're paying 10%. Go ahead.
I think we should go ahead and move forward with it. He's took his scoping, and y'all will be drawing up the paperwork in the future. And if they don't follow those guidelines, deny it, yes, all the way. I know it's kind of opposite against some of the others, but like Johnny said, it would be foolish not to move on it. And I want to make that motion to move forward with it.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson that we fund the amount to purchase the grass truck for troop on the grant.
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any other discussion? I will say, I wanted to note Commissioner McKeithen's objection, and it is valid.
And I'm not stupid. I mean,
I agree with you 100%. I didn't follow procedure.
Well, and I'm not, Chief, I respect you wholeheartedly, and that's what's kind of hurt me about it is I just don't want the next one to come up and say, well, this happened with Troop, and because I know we're going to vote yes when the next guy does it, because we're not going to let that stuff get away, and that's what. I mean, I'm not going to let this get away, but I just want to.
You want to slap my hand? I mean, I'm proud to let you slap my hand just as hard as you want to.
I think I've done enough.
Well, I think, but you're right. I mean, we can't keep going. That's the reason I've asked Mike to draft the policy. And I think this will be, I'll put it this way, this will be the last time we'll do it this way. If it's not done the right way, then we have every right to do it. So,
Let's vote.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion or question?
Where's the money coming from out the budget? Are we good with that, Eric?
I don't know the specific line item where it's going to come out of, but for the year as a whole, with the ESD as a whole, we are quite well.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion or question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Thank you, Chief. Just don't do it again.
Believe me, I won't.
I know that's right. All right. Item 9, Human Resources Director, Mr. Sherry.
Okay, last board meeting, I brought to the attention of the commissioners that our medical renewal came in at 21%. But I also wanted to bring forth all of our renewals for all medical coverage. So dental is a 6% increase. All other coverages, vision, life, AD&D, and long-term disability are 0% increase. So that's good. So the total liability that we have for our renewal is $773,818 for the year, for this coming year. This is effective as of 9/1, and it'll go through August 31st, 2023. I also have a breakdown. The company presently pays 100% of employee only. And I got some comparisons from other ESDs that will pay a portion of dependent coverage. It ranges from 30% all the way up to 100%. And I did a spreadsheet on what it would cost us if we covered the dependents of 50% and 100%. The 50% would be $635,767 for the ESD, and then the 100% coverage would be $773,818. So I'm bringing forth, one, I need approval on the renewal, and then two, I wanted to know if you all would consider paying a portion of our dependent coverage, either the 50 or the 100%.
As far as the renewal goes, I'll make a motion that we renew with as specific as that motion needs to be. I
have a motion by Commissioner McKeithen that we renew our insurance, dental and vision with the company that we have.
If you were to do the 50%, it would increase it by 138,000 as far as expense.
What is our budgeted amount for that?
Well, right now, it is in the budget.
The draft budget as we have right now, before the commissioners has reviewed it and we've had the workshop, it's, as it stands right now, we have 100%.
Right, because it'll be next year, excuse me.
Right.
Right.
This is all projected. Coming
Yeah.
So this would be another unbudgeted expense.
Well,
They're
but-
paying it right now.
Yep.
It's gotta pay up now before the new
Well,
budget comes in.
It's 9/1, and so it's just 1 month, but then the new budget would be 10/1.
Yeah, we don't
But
pay the
this
whole
was-
amount in advance, it's just
Right.
month by month.
And you, when you did the survey, how many, I mean, did most, would you say, cover the 50% or?
Well, the very least was 30%, but the majority was 67 to 50%, but there was 100%.
Who did you survey?
It's in that box there.
Well, it's not on our.
Oh, yeah, it's
Oh, it's
under,
not?
yeah, it's under spreadsheet on
Yeah.
the line.
There's Montgomery, ESD1 and ESD4, Careville, Fort Bend, Travis, and Bear. Is that how you say that? Okay.
Those are,
8 and 2.
those are fairly big ESDs to get more money than we do on property tax than we do on sales tax.
They have a whole lot more employees too.
Part of this is we're rolling into, as you know, the budget process for this coming fiscal year, and you have the workshop on the 16th. Where we can go into great detail of the fiscal year budget. And Sherry's been working on things that have to be done right away to continue what we have.
When,
So
when's
she's
the
gathering a lot of
deadline on
information.
this?
Well, it's pretty much tonight. I have open enrollment on 8/15.
Yeah, she's got it. This does not preclude us from continuing to shop the market.
Right.
And get maybe a better deal. We're not committed to a year with this vendor. So we've had conversations in the house and the staff to see what we can find out there and potentially find a better deal. We'll continue to push for that. But we have to deal with what we have in front of us. Because of just time.
Well, I've been hearing a lot of that here lately.
I know. We're making a lot of progress, but, and we're learning a lot along the way. And I can assure you things will be done a little more timely. as we move forward.
I've also been hearing that. not out of you, but.
You know, I understand about insurance and I understand about dependent care, but, you know, I don't know very many companies that do that. Some do, some don't.
We don't.
And we don't, so. But the thing about it is, I'm not against it, but I think it's something we ought to budget for next year and do it next year. I'm just jumping off right now, you know, in the unknown, I don't know. I'm certainly not against it, because I understand about insurance and how much it costs. You know.
Well, and if you don't want to do 50%, we could even do like 25%. I mean,
And you have to
anything
commit to a
would be.
percentage tonight for the company that we're going with.
No, I need a commitment for open enrollment, so I know what the rates are gonna be for when people sign up. They know what their cost is gonna be.
At a minimum, she needs approval to renew our current plan. Is that
Right, which
Well,
they've already done that.
We've already made the motion. You
They already- they just
did
did
that.
Right.
I wish it was where we could take that portion of it, table and talk about it at our next meeting and we'd have more information on it and know more about it.
Is that,
Well, I mean, the other option would be that we could just renew, go through open enrollment at the present rate, 100% employee only. And then if you want to discuss it for the next time, then we can maybe adjust.
and that's
the
something we
rates.
can add on after we've enrolled.
We can, because it's not going to affect our renewal.
But is there
It's-
any negative effects? Is it that we wait, that we discuss this and
Till we can understand it better.
Well, the negative effect is gonna be someone's not gonna know. Actually,
Whether-
yes, I take that back, because the issue with that is that when somebody goes in to enroll, they're gonna look at, it's gonna cost me to enroll my family, $985 a month. Or if we do the 50%, it's gonna cost me to enroll that family for $492. So it's a vast difference, and it makes it completely changes your mindset as to whether or not you're gonna be able to offer coverage to your family or your spouse or child, whatever it may be. So it does make a difference
Well,
in that
let me
respect.
play the devil's advocate here. What about a guy that's single? How does it help him?
Well, it doesn't help him presently, but it helps him when he gets married.
That's, which is a life event when you can open enrollment any kind of year for life.
Right, exactly.
Marriage or child.
Right.
What are your thoughts?
Well, let's see, if it's within the budget and within this time frame, I figure go ahead and make a motion to accept it and do it.
Well, really, we can form the budget around it because it is for next year's budget, is my understanding.
Just for next year.
Except for 1
We're
month.
gonna pay 1 month.
Well, and that's, yeah, I'm for, boy, I just don't like making decisions on the fly like this.
It's kind of like back in the form.
Is it out of line if I asked to visit with y'all about this from the men's perspective?
Well, I mean, I appreciate it, but obviously it's a want. We have no doubt.
No, and I understand.
And I think the impact on our guys' check every 2 weeks, going up 20-something%, that's a big deal. And what I figure is we're going to have guys that elect not to cover their families because it's going to take that much out of their paycheck. And, I mean, that's a big increase. But
Right, but it's also, we've, to date, not covered this, correct? This has not been something, so it's not like it's, I mean, I know it's a 21% increase, but we can make that across the board, across the nation. I'm sure they've all experienced increases, and where he worked, our company, we don't pay that. I mean, it's, you know, it's not something that the guys have expected to date.
My only argument is that most times when a pay raise has come from any state agency at all that I've worked with, 90% of the time it's an insurance rate hike that has happened, and it just washes itself out.
that's about the way we did over there.
And I'm not
That was on
being really
employee
rude.
insurance, that doesn't count as a team, that was just if you were an employee, that's what usually happens with that.
Correct.
But they never did give you a whole raise to
No.
cover your family.
No, not 100%, no, but to make up that 21%.
Well, like I say,
I was just saying we could do 25% if 50% is too steep, or.
I think the thought process is anything would help. This 21% increase in the economy and so forth. But what do you think of the ESD2 would be beneficial?
a couple of months ago, they would give us more time.
Yeah. So do we.
Well, it's kind of like, we gotta make a snap decision, unlike Matthew, I don't like making those kind of snap decisions. You know,
And I will assure you that, and we've already had this conversation, Terry and I, that we are going to continue to seek a better deal. And we're not going to wait till next year. So if we can find it, that will help the district and everybody.
Well, and I'll explain.
But I can't guarantee that because it's an unknown. But
So we either don't do it, David Gerald goes back to his people, and we are equal. We haven't offered it up to now, so it hasn't been I understand there's an increase. It seems like there's an increase every time. So we either are evil or we are evil to the taxpayers for spending money that, you know, I'm not trying to be a title, and I know that we have a large income. However, we want to staff more stations. We want to keep equipment up to date. We're buying new gear, yes, it's only this much. If you only this much me so many times, that budget is gone. And it's today. Today is the deadline. What,
25% would be the 69,025 increase over and above what this budget, or what the projected budget is.
69,000.
If you did 25%.
I will do that, and I will also not want this conversation to die. Let's look at it and see if we can get to the 50% mark. I'm not for the 100, but I will go to 50 if it makes sense. But tonight, I'd like to, as a show of good faith, do the 25% and hope those guys make a decision based on that, and then it will be a great thing for them if we do get to the other 25. I know that's not ideal. That's what I'm willing to do tonight. So with that, I'll make a motion that we do a 25% match on the attendance, and renew our, we'll just make it all one motion, and renew our insurance with our current provider.
A motion by Commissioner McKeithen, we renew our insurance with the current provider and provide a 25% pay for dependents.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any other discussion? All right. And we'll just make this one good too. I'll ask for a roll call on this. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner McKeithen?
Yeah.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. Motion carries.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Sorry to make it hard on you.
It's okay.
As with purchasing the trucks, bring this to us a lot sooner so we have time to delve into it.
We appreciate the board's challenges at the time. And we're working to reduce that.
11, discuss and consider taking necessary action on PPE grant.
10.
Did I get 10? Oh, did I miss one? Excuse me. Discuss and considering necessary action on request to fund purchase of uniforms for Noonday VFD up to the amount remaining in their uniform balance of $6,100. And Noonday agrees to pay the difference of $461.55 up to the total of $6561.55 noted on the invoice.
Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so I'll take this, and also Chief Harper's here to step in as well. Each VFD has $8,300 budgeted for their uniforms. Currently, Noonday has $6,100 left, and that is what Chief Harper has asked me to request, is that he get his remaining amount so he can purchase uniforms for his personnel. The quote that is in there is for a little bit more than that $6,100, but he said that Noonday would cover the difference.
Do we only have one quote because this is a vendor? What's the?
So he uses a vendor out of Dallas that he can pick up on his way home to and from work. He's used them in the past. That's pretty much who Noonday has been using. Even though we use, the ESD itself uses FR Girls. By the time you talk about the cost, the price of what he gets them is a little bit cheaper than what we're getting them from FR Girls. However, he's picking them up and not paying shipping. If we were paying shipping to come here, the prices would be the same. FR Girls delivers to the ESD office. It comes out to be a wash in the end. So in theory, I know we don't have the second quote in here, but in theory, our comparativeness would be to our current pricing structure that we get from FR Girls.
And we're not required to have 3 quotes on this?
Not at this level.
Okay. I have done a lot of talking tonight, but I'll do some more. I do have a problem with them paying $461.55. If that is, why did we budget 8? I mean, the overage here is not much, but is that, did you have more people? What's the?
So just this week I brought on 2 new people. I've got 2 more. These uniforms, they're long sleeve no-make shirts that we do not have. And some of the shirts, the ones that are running a lot of calls, it's to replace the ones that Noonday paid for 2 years ago out of our own budget.
Yeah. Well, before I rattle off, does anybody else got anything, any questions for me?
So you've already bought some out of your uniform allowance?
Last year,
The 8,300, you've already bought some out of that this year? Is that right?
no, of the 8,300, I've used some of it for T-shirts
Yeah.
that I've
So You
submitted.
bought some out of your $8,300?
Correct, yes, sir.
You have 6,100 left.
So these uniforms are used for when fighting fire and everything, or just?
Yes, sir. They're Nomex uniforms like what I have on now. They're the highest level of protection underneath our bunker gear that we would have. It's also the volunteers. We used to have 2 separate uniforms, whether we were paid or volunteer. I realize these do cost a little bit more, but it's a safety issue, and we all look alike. So there's really no difference. If I was to stand up, Chief and I, you can't tell who's paid and who's volunteer.
So how often do they get uniform? Do you know they get the uniform?
Typically, I can get about 2 to 3 years wear out of uniforms. Like I said, last year we paid right at $5,000 out of our own budget to get uniforms. This year we're looking to go to long sleeve. Next year, shouldn't have to buy any uniforms, but if y'all approve this, that will allow me to have money in Noonday's budget where I can get everybody a Class A uniform, which only 2 or 3 of us have.
$461.55 gonna hurt you? You put that in?
I don't think that, to me, that's,
True.
no, absolutely, it's irrelevant. I don't want you, now for your Class A's, because that's not an essential gear everyday item, I'll let you pick up that tab.
Sure.
But for now, I'll make a motion that we pay the $6,561.55, as well as the $461.55 to buy their gear. I'd like to see us look at that budget-wise and maybe make that increase next year so that they're not coming out of pocket.
One other thing, if we could, if we're going to continue to get $8,300 per department, it might be easier on the staff. Certainly it would be easier on me if we could potentially just, the beginning of the budget, get that money. Once you spend that, don't ask for any more, whether you want to use it for uniforms, T-shirts, hats, whatever's a uniform. Maybe we could submit the invoices to the staff showing that we are using that.
I like that idea, but one I almost like a little bit more. Used to, as long as you get online, you have a budgeted amount. We looked at that.
We as staff have that. And we've discussed. We have a uniform store for the paid staff, the plans to go into the uniform store for volunteer staff this year.
I mean, you know, are you wanting, as a chief, are you wanting to make that something that you control for your volunteers, or are we trying to?
Well, I'm going to take care of the 5 or 6 that continually run. I think they should be taken care of first versus somebody that only makes 1 call a month or a year.
Well,
so
we are working very hard to go towards that. What we defined in a policy as an active volunteer. And so I think that those allowances should be made based off of that. We clothe them for the first year, and then after they've been here a year, it's something, I'll let the staff handle that, but, I'll ask that you work with us on that, come up with a plan to, for a good process of purchasing, because I agree with you. I think that you get a budget, you spend it, get everybody what they need and go, but they both work pretty well.
Is your motion The 6,500 and the 461.
Yeah.
Well, the 6155 is the total, with their 400 added in.
Oh, is it?
Oh, that's, yeah, I'm sorry, okay. Then the 60.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Keithen that we go ahead and give the entire amount of 6155 to Noonday for the uniforms. Have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Only thing I would request, Mel, that when you spend that money, you bring the invoice and give it to us. It shows where that money went.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. 11, discuss, consider taking necessary action on PPE grant from Texas Forest Service for Flint Gresham Volunteer Fire Department. Anybody here to speak on that?
Lieutenant Rath, is the one who requested it.
He left that church fire.
Okay, so he went on a call. Let me pull up the document. I briefly discussed this with him, and he was adamant that he present. Okay, so Flint Gresham VFDs received the PPE grant for $20,000. Basically, what they're going to ask is for us to do the grant match for the $20,000. I want to say, if you go down through the attachment, the only thing he sent me was the award letter. I want to say, I think he told me that they're requesting $3,000 in a match from us, is what he told me. So the total purchase would actually be $23,000. That's how much they'll have to purchase in order to get the full grant.
So they're asking us for $3,000.
I believe that is the amount.
Have they told you what they're, have they gotten with us on?
He is not. I think at this point, he's just wanting to make sure we know about the grant, we get it on the agenda so that we can continue to go forward.
He didn't want to get in here and talk about it, did he?
Okay.
He was here, they had to run.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, since there's nobody here from them to really tell us everything about the grant, I make a motion to table it to the regular meeting in the month.
This grant, hold on. No, at the end of the month, because
Yeah,
it will expire.
end of this month. Yeah. Okay, another second for Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's table till the next meeting. Make sure it's on the agenda.
For the 20 section?
Yeah, in a second. Yes.
Got it.
Item 12, discuss and consider taking necessary action on request for purchase of installation of garage door opener for the Troop Fire Station number 2. Mike, you want to speak on that, or?
Yeah, the cost for this is under $2,000. We just wanted to make sure the board was aware and see if there was any questions about it. They have a garage door, doesn't have an opener. Which can be a problem when you're trying to get it put to it. And they submitted a quote, so we have actually two quotes. The best one was this overhead door company in Kaiser for $11.75. Was the best quote.
I very much appreciate you bringing it to us, but on something like this, I'm totally good with you to move forward without making this an agenda item, either one of you, whoever needs to do that. Truthfully,
I requested it to be put on there just so there wouldn't be any questions about it.
I have no questions, and
We just want to make sure that everybody was aware of it. So,
I'll question it if I have questions. I don't want you to be overcautious, just the right amount is what I'm looking for.
all right.
I may have been a little overcautious.
Hey, I appreciate it, I really do. We'll,
Yeah, $11.75 was the best.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wilson that we buy the garage door opener for Troop for $1,175 from Overhead Door Company of Tyler. Have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. closed session. The board will convene in closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. No action shall be taken while the board is in closed session. Any final action, final decision, or final vote shall be taken after the board reconvenes in open session. And we are adjourned at 6:17. All right, I call regular session back to order at 7:26 p.m. There is no action to be taken after the closed session, and at this time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So made.
We are adjourned at 7:26.
There you go.
You had dinner?
No.